Welcome to STEAMfest 2017. I have no doubt that this room is filled with our nation's next doctors, programmers, artists, teachers, maybe even a governor or a senator or two. As a former teacher, I know that students with science, technology, engineering, arts, and math backgrounds are in high demand. And that's why this opportunity is so important. You get to learn from some of the best and brightest in their fields, and you get to see what opportunities await you as you think about your next steps in life. I'd encourage you to take advantage of every opportunity. Public education is a foundation of our democracy. It opens up doors that wouldn't be possible otherwise. STEAM jobs are some of the fastest growing, good paying jobs in Montana. And that's why it is critical that we provide Montana students with the tools that they need to get an education in STEAM fields. As your senator, I'm working to make higher education more affordable by fighting for stronger Pell Grants to help students better afford the cost of tuition. And I'm supporting the Perkins Loan Program so more students can have access to the education that they need to launch successful careers. It's these kind of investments that will build a brighter future. I hope you get a lot out of this event, and please do stay in touch.
We're going to go through a little quiz and see if you all are ready to fly.
All right, how do we get there?
That would be great. So this website that we're going to go to here is knowbeforeyouFly.org, and if you are interested in flying a drone or getting one, I would really suggest checking this out. They've got a lot of information that's going to help keep you safe. So we're going to start out with this quiz, and the way we're going to run this is, can we have them drop their camera again?
Conrad, can you drop your camera again? For some reason you keep sneaking up to the ceiling, and we need to be able to see hands for this. Oh, there's Conrad. I think it's Is it Darby then that changed their camera view?
Oh, it is.
There you go.
That's perfect.
Yeah, perfect. Darby, if you could move your camera down just a little. Sorry. Just
Okay,
Just go ahead
perfect.
and
We'll
start.
go ahead. So what we're going to have you do here is just raise your hands for the correct answer. We're going to kind of try and take a vote between everybody that's here today, and we'll see how well we do on this quiz while I sneak my head down here. So it's kind of unfair a little bit because you may have studied before you would take a quiz normally, but let's just see how we are. So, can I fly within 5 miles of an airport? So, if you think number one, yes, but I must stay 400 feet above ground level, you raise your hand. Yes, but only after I've notified the airport and control tower. Yes, as long as you stay clear of active runways. And no, the areas surrounding all airports are considered no-fly zones. All right, let's see it.
Let's do it like this, guys. Let's go. If you think it's we have four choices. If you think it's 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 4. So, all right. So I'm seeing some 2s in Conrad. Let's see. I see some 4s in Lame Deer. Ronan, what do you think? I see some 3s, and 4s, and then let's see here, Darby. You have to put your hands up really tall so I can see it. Oh, yeah. Okay, there we go. Oh, I've got some 3s. It looks like, 4s indoor. Yep, 4s.
All right,
okay.
perfect. So I would say overall, what do you guys think? 4 is the answer?
I would say that
Most people are saying 4. And that's actually incorrect. So if you, which is great, I appreciate that you think you shouldn't fly near an airport, but you need to notify a tower, the control tower, if you want to fly near the airport. All right, next. Go ahead. You can.
So, this is also a good one. My drone will fly thousands of feet in the air. Can I fly it as high as it will go? All right, so again, 1 is yes. 2 is only in rural areas away from people. 3 is no. And 4 is as long as you alert the airport. All right, so what do you all think? 1, 2, 3, or 4? So you can fly it as high as you can go, only in rural areas. No, you can't. Or yes, as long as you alert the airport. All right, see some 1s, see some 2s.
Some 3s. 1s and 3s.
3s, all right.
4.
So there's another 3.
Ooh, it's a really diverse group.
Yeah.
It is. What?
I'm saying it seems like there were a lot of people with number 3 up.
Yeah.
All right,
We'll
let's
see about
try
that.
3 here. No,
Hey,
it's
it's true.
incorrect. Yes.
You're only allowed to fly up to 400 feet. And they set those rules because other airplanes and helicopters and everything are flying above 400 feet. So they try and keep drones away from aircraft with people in them.
That's a good plan. All right, next. Do I have to see my drone at all times? So here we go. Yes, unless I am specifically authorized to fly beyond line of sight. Yes, unless I'm using first-person view to control my drone, and that's those goggles that allow you to see what the camera sees. And then no, yes, unless I'm tracking my drone via its GPS coordinates.
Ooh, tricky. Okay.
This one's a little tougher,
Okay.
so we've got some 1s.
4s.
We got some 2s down in
Twos.
Conrad. 2s in Darby. 2, I think 2 is your...
2 is our
Two
thing.
is-
All
So
right.
yes, unless you're using first-person view. All right, let's see. Oh.
No. All right. So you cannot fly using first-person view unless you have somebody else observing for you. But you cannot fly it out of visual line of sight, meaning that you can't use binoculars to try and track it. So this is a really big deal that you need to pay attention to. So with smaller drones, those can get away on you pretty quickly. So you can't really go very far.
All right, so this is an interesting one. We're getting into some acronyms here. So what is an example of a temporary flight restriction? 1, no-fly zone over a sensitive area such as Washington, D.C. 2, no-fly zone over a large sporting event or stadium. Number 3, all of the answers. And number 4, no-fly zone is put in place over public safety emergencies such as firefighting operations. All right, so number 1,
hard.
sensitive areas. 2, sporting events. Number 3, all of them. And 4, only over public safety events. So what do you all think?
It looks like 3.
A lot of 3s.
The
Yeah,
majority of it.
good.
When in doubt, go with
Go
the
with all.
all.
That's the yeah.
SAT practice there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there you
Tip
go.
for your SATs.
Yes. All right, so this is a really good question. So can I fly over people? Yes, but only if I'm at least 150 feet in the air. No. Yes, but only those directly involved in my operation. And yes, but only with prior consent. So what do we see in here? Some 2s. A 2/4. That's good. Good one. Okay, and I see some 1s, a 1 and a 4. 4, 4, 3. What do you
Whoa,
think? 4?
man.
All right. Should we go with 4?
Yeah.
Okay, so 4 is incorrect. So you always need to stay at least 25 feet away from people that are not directly involved in your operation. So that is a really important thing to know. You cannot be flying over your friends, over your neighbors, for example. So, yes.
So if they wanted to do some more of this quiz, they could just go to knowbeforeyouFly.org and you could pick up kind of where you left off and find
Right.
out a little bit more about the safety. Do you want me to get you
Exactly.
back
Yeah,
to...
that'd be great.
Very cool. There we go.
All right, so oops, let me get my little clicker here, and we're going to move on. So I want to talk a little bit about what we're doing at the University of Montana with drones. One big thing we've done, as you can imagine, is some marketing. You need to have a special, you're a special class, I guess, when you are doing marketing, and we'll talk about that later. At the beginning of the school year, we formed a human M during Welcome Feast, and we flew this drone right here up high and took some pictures and some video. So that's marketing. And let me click this. This was really exciting. We got to fly at the Grizzly football game. inside the stadium, and as far as I know, that was the very first time in the state of Montana we had a legal drone flight inside a stadium. You should never, ever, ever fly in a stadium or over that many people for sure. But we were in a very small column, so I'm just going to play you this quick video here.
Well, what a fun first half of football here at Washington Grizzlies Stadium. 19 rated Montana by 10 against Idaho State.
So you probably
Footage from the pregame ceremonies, courtesy of the University of Montana's Autonomous Aerial Systems Office. Its mission to help guide staff, faculty, and students on the rules for unmanned aircraft systems, help create infrastructure for drones to do aerial research, and stimulate innovation in the state of Montana.
Looks like we may have a student with a question there.
Oh, do we have a question?
Yeah, let's go ahead and have some questions. Lame Deer, go for it.
We're not.
They have to unmute. So
Oh.
It's just taking them a second.
Oh, okay.
Go
Got
ahead.
it.
How high did you fly it?
Oh, so yes, that's a great question. So we did not fly very high, and part of that was because we had such a limited amount of time to get off the field before we got run over by football players. So I think we might have been up about 16 meters, so maybe 50 feet. Thanks. So yeah, interesting thing, at the Super Bowl, they actually put in a temporary flight restriction zone of a radius of, I think, 25 miles around the Super Bowl stadium. You couldn't fly anything, except for commercial aircraft, of course.
Let's see if there's any other questions in any of the other schools. Ronan, do you have any questions?
Where the other schools at?
Where are the other schools? Well, let's see. We have Ronan, we have Lame Deer, we have Darby, and we have Conrad today. And then Bozeman is also joining us, but their camera is off.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay, are there any other questions or?
Ronan, did you have a question?
I know.
Don't. Thumbs down so I know. How about Conrad? Conrad, do you have a question? So far? How about Darby? Darby, do you have a question so far? Okay.
Awesome.
We'll continue on then.
All right. So some of the other things that we're doing at the university right now, this flight right here was for an archaeology class. This is Jen. Oops, I'm not going to be good at this pointing thing. This is Jen Fowler. She's the director of the Autonomous Aerial Systems Office. And we did a flight over this homestead for an archaeology course. This is a flight just above Jonathan here for a journalism class that is like a film journalism course. One of the big projects that we're doing involves fire research. And this right above my head is Tim, and they were down in Georgia doing prescribed burns. And they flew this fixed wing plane over those, or near those fires to take data on those. The picture down in the bottom is some of the fire center people when they were flying on an active fire. We also are doing some weather research, and this is a location up by Kalispell. And these guys that fly for us are really, really talented and have a lot more experience than we do. And I think one of the big things that we're doing right now that is super exciting is we're developing a course, namely with SANS Unmanned Aviation Training. And Justin, you can see on my shoulder here. And Hovig, they are the pilots. They are the people that have developed the training. And they are fantastic. So this course right here that you can see in these pictures is when they taught some high school students who are in the Civil Air Patrol. But the training course that we're developing at the university is going to get you to the point where you can get your remote pilot certificate and even be prepared to go out and get a job, which sometimes that's pretty important. And then the last thing here that I just wanted to mention is that we do a lot of outreach, and you can't really see it, but right above here is this little tiny drone, and this lady, she got about a half an hour personal training on that drone, which was really fun. So we do a lot of outreach.
How could they participate in outreach if they're interested in trying to fly drones? Is there a program that you
do here?
Yeah, that you do here?
Yeah, so what ends up happening for us at the university is we hire students, for example, Jonathan. We hire students, and one of the things that you do when you're working for us is outreach. There's always something that has come up. We're always getting asked to do things because everybody thinks drones are very exciting. So if you were a student at the university, you should contact me, and we could definitely see what we could do to get you hired or get you involved in some outreach.
Cool. That sounds like
I think
fun.
it's good. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to Jonathan for a little bit.
Great. Well, thanks. So one of the really cool things about drones is that they really give us the ability to have a new perspective. And whether that's for making maps, whether that's for filming and photography, and whether that's for industrial inspections, drones are being used for all kinds of things. For me, I'm using my research project is using drones to measure snowpack out in the mountains. And by doing this, we can get a better idea of how much water we have. And it's much easier to do that with a small drone like this than it is to try and go get an airplane or something like that. So I'm going to quickly show you this drone that we have here, and then I'm going to talk a little bit more about how they're used for research. So this one here is called an Inspire. We have a couple of these, and they're really useful because they can take off vertically and move in very small areas and take really good photos. A couple, important parts of this system. We have the controller right here. This is what we use to control the aircraft, what the pilot will use to control the aircraft. On the aircraft, we have a battery. This battery will last for about 20 minutes of flight time. So it's not actually all that long that we can fly this. On the sides here, we have the motors and propellers on the arms, and these can actually lift up out of the way so that our camera gets a good view of what's going on. We also use fixed-wing aircraft because fixed-wing drones are able to fly for maybe half an hour or even 45 minutes or an hour, and you're able to get a lot more data during that time. So I like talking about drones for good, for science is what we're using them for. So
I wonder if we could just pause really quickly and see if they have any questions of either about the difference between the fixed wing and this particular drone, or about this drone itself, or share any drone stories that they might have that they've used.
Great. Yeah. Do you all have any questions about those things? About what this is, any of the parts of it, anything like that?
Liam, do you want to say?
You guys want to start? Have a question about the drone? Show them we have some drones here at the science classroom that were used for robotics class, and they look like this. Can you see it?
Oh yeah. Cool.
Like a quad. That's like a quad. Like a quadcopter. We're interested in mapping habitat, wildlife habitat, like prairie dog habitat.
For sure.
Or even just for observation. But yeah, so this, we're not really, I was thinking about your training for high schoolers. I'm not sure if there's some kind of, if we could schedule something like that in for the kids to kind of learn how to use these drones. We have a remote control system for this one. Obviously, you can show them the remote. Like this. It's a pretty huge type system. Yeah, so none of them, we're all not familiar with drones, so we can talk about that.
It takes a lot of learning. It's a lot of complex systems, but once you get it figured out, it seems like y'all are working on some neat ideas. So there'd be definitely ways we could figure out how to help in the future.
Okay. Yeah, I'll get you, or Allie will get you my contact information, and then we can talk about that for sure.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, are there any other questions from any of the other groups?
I thought I saw one in Rodan. Rodan?
How much does something like that cost?
Ugh.
Well, so a system like this, actually, these days, they just came out with the Inspire 2, which is, about $6,000. So this one these days, I think, is retailing for about $2,000. So that's a fair bit of money. But the really cool thing about where drones are at right now is that this is really professionally made and all, but you can literally build a drone out of popsicle sticks if you want. There's a whole bunch of really great information online about how to do these things, and I've seen people build complete flying drones for under $100. So it's really cool that there's a lot of different ways to get into this, and it doesn't have to be going out and buying some really expensive thing. You can build them all yourself, and that's actually what I'm doing for my research project. Is the systems that I could buy cost about $10,000, or I could build one for about $3,000. And it's actually, once you figure out the systems, it's not too hard to do. I should put it that way.
Is there any? Are there any resources that you have come across in learning how to build a drone that you could share with
Yes.
them if they're interested?
The internet, pretty much.
Just in general, the internet.
If you're interested in building them, just do some basic searches and you'll get a lot of information. There's a lot of people out there who are very obsessed with this sort of stuff.
Very cool. Let's see, Conrad, do you have any questions?
Yeah, you have to do it from the microphone though. Sorry. Yeah, hang on.
Oh, great.
Is there a difference to where you can fly commercial drones versus private-owned drones?
Yeah, so we'll get into a little bit of the regulations at the end, but the difference is effectively for the pilot if you're getting paid to do the work or not. If you just go out, I can go out and fly for fun if I'm not getting paid, and I don't have to have a remote pilot certificate. I do have one because I have worked commercially doing film work, doing industrial inspections work, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute here. So yeah, we'll talk a little bit about it's called the Part 107 regulations, and we'll talk about that at the end. But good question.
Yeah, in terms of where you can fly, there is not really any difference between a hobbyist and a commercial person. Yeah, it's just stay below 400 feet and don't fly within 5 miles of an airport without alerting the tower. So, but we'll talk about that more shortly.
Okay,
Well,
thank you.
Darby, do you have any questions? I'm sorry, go ahead, Conrad.
I think he just said thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
How about Darby? Darby, do you have any questions?
Thanks.
All right, we'll keep going.
Yeah, go ahead.
So one of the really amazing things that's only developed in the last sort of 5 or 6 years is the ability to use photographs to make maps. So in the background here, this is one that I made. I just walked around a log, and that is actually a 211 million year old petrified tree. And I just walked around it taking photographs, and then using software was able to develop a 3-dimensional model of it. And this opens up a huge world of possibilities for making maps just using photographs. So for example, in the background, this might just look like a photo from the air, but this is actually a 3-dimensional map of a park near where I used to live and an archaeological site there. And if we look at it in 3 dimensions, we can actually see that the red area is higher elevation and the blue area is lower elevation. And all of this was done with a $300 drone taking pictures, and it took me about half an hour. This map is something that in the past, surveyors would have had to have gone out and spent days trying to get that much data. So it really opens up a whole world of possibilities of making maps and remote sensing done much more cheaply and much more quickly.
So that next?
So another thing, this is actually combining a little bit of two things that I've done with drones. So both industrial inspections, I was working out in California and all over the country really, inspecting wind turbines, with the blades of wind turbines using drones, and also filmmaking. So we'll play a little video for you here.
Oh, yeah, turn it down.
If it's too
I
loud.
edited them.
Okay.
Oh, did you?
Let's see how it goes.
Oh, perfect. Sure, I'll get up to the side there. As I leave. We're back.
Jonathan, did you make that video?
Yeah, I did make that video.
That's super cool.
So that's, yeah, combines some of my background with filmmaking and some work I was doing with these inspections. But there's sort of a lot of things going on in there. So that drone platform that you saw in that video is actually custom designed from the ground up to do exactly that kind of work. And there's been some business assessments that say that inspecting wind turbines with drones is going to be a $6 billion industry in the next 15 years. So
I'm
there's
curious,
a
does
lot
anybody-
of...
Jonathan, I'm just really curious. Thumbs up or down? Does anybody have drones out in their community? Or not drones. I'm sorry. Wind farms or turbines in their communities.
Conrad.
Yeah, I was
does.
thinking
Yeah.
Conrad probably.
Yeah.
You might.
Yeah.
Let's see. Ronan. I don't think Ronan.
We
Lame
don't
deer.
have
Would
them.
you? Do you? No. Okay.
So,
Yeah, and it's a quick note about that video. That was done with the permission of the owners of the turbines, and we had full FAA permission to be flying there. So don't just go flying around inside of wind farms. It's not a safe place to be flying anything.
No.
So we were there, you know, as you could see, they actually stopped the turbines, so they weren't moving while we were flying near them, and a few other things like that that help keep it safe. But
so when you say a $6 billion industry, I mean, that to me means there's going to be a lot of jobs out there for people that can be pilots, camera operators, and I think those types of jobs pay pretty well.
They do pay pretty well.
That's good.
Yeah.
All right,
So here's getting back to that question about some of those regulations. And there's 3 kinds of categories as the FAA defines it. So you can have your hobbyist, which is what most people are. You go buy a drone, you go fly it for fun. It falls into that hobbyist category. And for that, you don't need any special certifications or licenses. You just have to register your drone online, which costs $5.
$5.
So pretty easy to do. And then just follow those rules of below 400 feet, staying away from people and other people's property and stadiums and airports and all. The next level is commercial. So that's if you're getting paid to do it. And for that, you have to have it's called a Part 107. And it's a test you take. It requires a fair bit of studying. It's a pilot's license. And it costs about $150 to take that test, but it's not too crazy. It's not too difficult. And then you can fly commercially. You can get paid to fly drones, to do mapping, to do agricultural inspections, to do whatever. There's a lot of different things people do with that. And then there's public entities like the University of Montana. And fortunately for us, the rules are we're a little bit special.
For right now, we have what's called a certificate of authorization, and we got this back before all the rules changed. That kind of loosened things up a little bit, but we had authorization to fly up to 400 feet anywhere in the United States. And prior to getting that, we could not fly outside, period. So that was a big day for us, and in fact, it was only just about a year ago. Right now, we're working on some of these COAs, or certificates of authorization, to fly up to 18,000 feet in a really small cone or cylinder area. And that is so that we can do some special research with weather and some more of the mapping for fires and such. But that's one of the things that gives the university a real edge, because the FAA would much rather, in some sense, work with a public institution than, a hobbyist, for example. Must be because we have more money that they can come after if we get in trouble. So hopefully that's not it. So we want to just talk about these a little bit in more detail. So this is what Jonathan said, and this I can't really emphasize enough. You probably have heard in the news lots of stories of people doing bad things with drones. Can you raise your hand if you've heard a bad drone story on the news? Yeah, not too many of you have. I mean, a lot of it has to do with people flying into their neighbors' yards and spying on them. So
don't use a drone to spy on your neighbor.
Do not spy on your neighbor. This is going to be this is going to be interesting thing to see how the privacy issues play out and what police can do eventually. Make sure you keep below 400 feet, and 400 feet is surprisingly not that high. And then don't fly over people either. Once again, this commercial pilot's license, basically, it requires an exam. It's about $150. I'm still studying for that, and it is like, in some sense, taking private pilot ground school. There's a lot there. You have to learn about weather, regulations, how to read those crazy airspace maps. So it's fun, though. And speaking of, this isn't a crazy airspace map, but...
Yeah, so this is another great resource for you all that shows where you can and can't fly. So we've already talked about the fact that you can't fly near airports without getting permission. That also applies to helicopter airports, helipads. So for example, in Missoula over there, we have an airport and a heliport in town, so you can't really fly anywhere in town. Another thing is that national parks, right there, are also no-fly zones. So if you are interested in flying somewhere, it's a good idea to take a look at this map and look up where you are and see if there's anything around you that you need to be aware of. And we have more resources on our website up there that have more information about those different categories of pilot's licenses, places to go for training, resources, and also the contact information for our office.
Cool. So if they want to, maybe if they're in Missoula and like to come check it out, they could give you guys a call or
Yes.
maybe set something up
Yeah.
for talk about internships. Yeah.
Yeah, you can give me a call. My phone number is on that website or my email address, and you'd be welcome to email me if you have questions about any of this. And if you are going to be in town, you want to stop by and visit, get a little tour of our office. I would love to show you what we've got going on.
We're almost out of time, but I want to give a chance for the students to go ahead and ask any questions that they may have before we have to go. So let's see, Conrad, you guys are in the big screen on my computer. Do you guys want to start off with some? If you have any questions or comments?
No questions or comments.
No questions. Okay.
All right.
Let's see here, Rodianne. How about you?
That's
Hello.
Oh, Lame Deer does. Okay, we'll go to Lame Deer first. Lame Deer, go for it.
Kelsey. Go ahead. Don't be shy. Spit it out.
I don't have any words to place it in, so I don't have any questions.
Oh, you don't? Oh, okay, I thought you did. Sorry.
No worries.
That's all right.
No trouble. Ronan, do you have any questions?
We haven't flown a drone before, but so I was wondering, how do you tell like your elevation?
Yeah,
Great
so
question.
ones like the one we had here, and most of the ones you can either build or buy, will have, you can hook it up to your phone or something and use that as a screen, and it will actually tell you how far above the ground you are. So, and even some of them, some of the ones like the DJI one that we just had out, will actually not let you go above that 400-foot level. It'll give you a warning and say, you can't fly that high. You can override it and make it go higher, but it'll say, don't do this. You're not supposed to be doing this. So yeah, it'll tell you.
But with those little tiny ones, like the Cheersons, those cost like $25. There's no way for you to tell how high you've gone. And those, especially those little lighter ones, they're really hard to fly. And I've heard many, many people say, took it out my yard, flew it up, wind caught it, never saw it again. So if you're thinking about getting a drone for yourself, maybe save up a little extra money, go with something a little bit bigger that has some more features.
Cool.
All right.
Any other questions, Ronan?
How much does the wind effects?
So,
How much does the wind affect
oh
your
yeah.
flying?
Yeah, so a lot of the bigger drones will have GPSs on board. So even if it's really windy, they'll know where they are and counteract that. So in that video I showed of flying on the wind turbines, our maximum wind speed that we can fly in safely is about 35 to 40 miles an hour. Above that, it starts getting pretty unstable and difficult to fly. But you can fly those bigger ones in some pretty high wind speeds. The small ones, you have to be a lot more careful because they will, if they don't have a GPS, they'll just go with the wind and disappear.
Yeah, when we flew that Inspire, the little guy we had here for the football game, if you're familiar with the Washington Grizzly Stadium, it's in Hellgate Canyon, so it's very windy. So as soon as that got up, you could tell that it actually had to lean into the wind, and it's incredibly stable. I was really impressed with it, but you get that out of a drone, you probably spend $500 on.
3500 has GPS. Yeah.